DGM Insights, another flaw with evolution. Please like and subscribe DGM Insights.
So I've been seeing more and more posts, and they're claiming that science and scientists should be unquestionable, that they're always right, they're always believable, and opposite points of view are uneducated or undereducated, and that scientists shouldn't be challenged. So I'm seeing more and more posts about scientists, and they use this picture, and the scientists should be unquestionable, that people that are questioning science are giving a good debate, or that it has already been refined over time, and that there is no question to it, that it's not science theory, it's science fact. All those things being said by these posts are unbelievably arrogant, but they're also unbelievably wrong. And so I commented on one that had a fish and in between, like salamander, and then a looked like a lizard on land. I challenged it, and I said there's problems with this that a logical person would understand. And the responses I got, if they were from humans, I don't know, there's a lot of bots in this stuff, but if they're from humans, it was really an interesting take. And so I'm going to go through the details real quick. So between a water-breathing species and an air-breathing species, there are species that can do in between. There's no reason that function would carry forward if you start with just a water-breathing creature. If you have a fish, there's no reason why it would go up on land. There's no reason why it would not do anything other than a trout out of water, flop around and die. There's no mechanism there. If the mechanism's there in their DNA, it was there before. Something put it there. It doesn't, malfunctions and mistakes in the genetics don't explain for that kind of remarkable change, for that kind of remarkable thing in the DNA. So the logic here is that's an impossibility. What they're suggesting, it didn't happen that way. Something else happened that caused it to do that. Now, they say, well, there was food on land, so they figured out how to crawl up and eat something and go back to the water. Well, there are water-breathing species that can do that. That's true. They can go up there, eat something, and then go back to the water before they die. But generally speaking, it doesn't change the mechanism inside their bodies to be able to do that. Now, species now that have the air-breathing capacity and the water-breathing capacity had it added to their DNA, had it added to their function. And then you get the same argument, which is really kind of funny. They said, well, over millions of years this evolved. Well, mistakes that would cause that remarkable of a change and not kill the animal or kill the species is very unlikely, probably improbable. So my point to them is the time periods don't add to the possibility or probability. The time periods makes it more unlikely, because that creature has to go up there supposedly with some miracle thing happening to their lung that they can breathe air, and then they have to crawl back and reproduce. And that has to be done enough times to where the species itself would change and the DNA within those species and then propagate from there. It makes it extremely improbable if you think of probabilities about this. So, I kind of like, don't be so arrogant to think that you have the answers. There might be other solutions to those answers, and I'm going to try and give them in videos, but that is a severe logic problem, that you think that would happen by accident or malfunction of the creature itself, and that it would reproduce itself. So I'll give other examples to you, but this one is kind of breathtaking that they believe that they have all the answers. Okay, thank you. So one of the other answers I get is that the food was plentiful on shore. And, during the time period, yeah, that might be true today, but during the time period that we're talking about, with a very limited amount of plants, with no animals to spread their seeds around, so a minimal amount of vegetation, with that in mind, the idea that food would be more plentiful on land than a life-stocked ocean seems very unlikely. It seems to take away from the possibilities of it being true, not to add to it, not to say, well, that's the reason. Well, that may not be the reason. There are aquatic creatures that can do both breathe air and water. That's true, and they do go up on land to reproduce and do some other things, but they clearly have both functions in their DNA and in the structure of their breathing apparatus.
Please like and subscribe DGM Insights and Harmony Road DGM on social media.